Hello Stitchy friends, Jenny here with FlossTube episode 12. And if you think in this episode I'm going to show you updates on all the whips I showed you in my whip parade and you know how I finished all those tasks I set forth for myself, you're wrong. I got really excited about spring. It's almost here. You can feel the weather changing and all I wanted to do was stitch spring themed things, spring colors, you know, just flowers. That's what's in my brain. So instead of working on all those whips, I just started a whole bunch of new whips. And it wasn't helped by the fact that I went to the local needlework shop not once, but twice. So yes, once was for my market pre-orders. Another time I was out for a day with my mom and we ended up eating just down the street from Stitch New England and I wasn't gonna not go in. So yeah, I'll talk about that stuff a little bit later. But this episode will be mostly new projects. And in fact, there's only one whip that I showed you that I made progress on. So I'm going to start with that one. And that is my Storied Seeds Stitch Along by Ingleside Imaginarium. I'll put a picture up here. But in a way, it's kind of like I made a new start here because a new chapter came out. I'm really excited about this chapter. It's a Kelpie, which if you're not familiar is a horse-like creature from Scottish mythology. And I just love him. I'm really excited. So I did get a start and here's where I'm at with my Kelpie. Yeah, so not a bad start. And honestly, I would have been a lot further along if I hadn't just allowed myself to open Pandora's box, basically, and just start all of the things. But I'll keep coming back. One of the things I love about this stitch along is that it runs the whole year and the releases are once every 2 months. So you have a really long time in between to work on the project and get caught up. One of the things with Haunted Library that was hard for me was that it was a release once a week. And when you're working full time and doing everything else, it can be hard to keep up with that, especially if the release is quite large. So I'm really, really enjoying this. And if you're looking for a drawn out leisurely stitch along that's also really beautiful and fun, may I suggest this one? Yeah, so that is my Storied Steeds. I'll start a pile down here. So okay, that's it for whip updates. Everything from here on will be new projects. So let's dive in. The first one I'm going to show you is this mushroom sampler, which was actually a gift from my bestie last year for my birthday. And I'm really excited that she gifted me this chart because I don't think I ever would have sought it out or thought of it for myself. But I absolutely love it, and I really think that's so fun that she managed to find something that I wouldn't have picked for myself, but that I absolutely love. So I'm really excited to stitch this one. And I have a very, very tiny start. It's embarrassingly tiny, actually. It's not even worth showing, but yes, so not a lot to write home about just yet. But hey, I got stitches into fabric, so it counts, right? This is a 36 count linen by Zweigart, and the color is Agave. I think that's how you pronounce that, right? I'm gonna feel really stupid if not, but oh well. Yeah, so it's a start. Not too much to say about that one, but hopefully I'll have more to say next time because I am really enjoying that one. Okay, so the next thing I started is a chart that I bought actually quite a while ago. It's by the Blue Flower and it's called Night Walk Down. So I didn't take any of these charts out of the Ziploc bag, so if there's a glare, I'll just, you know, pop a picture in instead of showing it. But at any rate, that's that. And this is another one, honestly. This is such a tiny start. This is a joke to show you, really. But it counts, people. It really does. And also, I took the flosses out for this because I am obsessed. Isn't this just the prettiest color palette? I mean, that's so pretty. Also, can we talk about this wrought iron color by, this is one of the Gentle Arts. It's called wrought iron, and it's sort of like a blue going into an almost black. It's the most beautiful color. Yeah. So I have a question for you folks that work with these over dyes. This is one of 3 projects I have that I've started using the over dyes, and this is my first time using them. Some of the colors are not a lot of variation, like Polywog here is kind of mostly all one color, so that's fine. But some of them, like Cinders here, have extreme variation, like it goes from a real raspberry to a deep purple. And I'm just wondering, as I'm working, what I normally do is I go across the row one way and then I come back and cross my stitches and I work one row at a time. But I'm worried that I'm going to start having lines in my work because it's already happening here. Like I've got a real purple row and then I have more of a dusty purpley gray row. So I was wondering if you guys have any tips for me. Like, should I just work one stitch at a time, cross it, you know, and go one stitch like that? Or the other idea I had was to just do all of the stitches one way, the whole section, and then come back and cross them all. Just so I wouldn't get like jarring changes, you know? I wondered if anyone had some brilliant tips. So yeah, hey, it's a start. I'm really excited about this particular design because of it featuring a lady and her black cat. And I have a black cat, Salem, who's actually lounging in the armchair watching me like I might be insane because I'm talking to myself. And that's fair. All right. Okay, so the next project I have is a direct result of going to the LNS the day I had a day out with my mom. So my mom lives kind of in the North Attleboro area, and she knew of this brunch place that's in North Attleboro, and it happened to be just a few doors down from Stitch New England. And once she mentioned this place and I looked it up on the map and saw how close, I was like, do you mind if we stop at the Stitch New England? And she's like, of course not. And there is a part of me that was thinking, I wonder if she'll go back down the rabbit hole. If you haven't been here a while, or if you don't remember, I mentioned many episodes ago that my mom used to be a prolific cross-stitcher back in the 80s and 90s when it was really big. And then she just sort of gave it up. She's a watercolor artist and a teacher, so she teaches all day, and then if she has free time, she wants to work on her watercolor, which makes sense. So she had got out of cross-stitching, gave all her supplies away, and that was that. But she's actually retiring this year, so she's going to have free time. And I sort of wondered if being in the LNS, you know how it is, you have that wall of beautiful floss and all the hand-dyed fabric and all the like inspiring charts and everything. Like, how can you not get sucked in, right? Yep, she's down the rabbit hole. I'm so excited. So I think we're going to be doing some stitching together, maybe over the summer and as time goes on, because now she's not going to have to be doing work and everything all the time. So it's going to be really exciting. And for her first project, she picked a project that I actually wanted to work as well. So we're both going to work it together, which is going to be kind of fun. And actually, I had 2 charts on my wish list that I was looking to pick up that day, and this was one of them. So it was really funny that she gravitated towards this. Without further ado, it is Yellow Submarine by Blackbird Designs. I just absolutely love this series. My mom and I are both huge Beatles fans. It's so cute. It's like taking classic Beatles and making it samplerized. I just absolutely love this. So we picked up the chart. We each picked some of the flosses. We each picked a fabric. She picked like a sort of lighter greeny toned Aida, and I picked a very, very blue linen. So I will show you. Right, so this is a fabric. I put little tags on all my fabrics so that I won't forget things now. This is a 36 count linen, and it is by Atomic Ranch, and the color is Moonstone. And this is one of the called for colors, and I'll be using mostly called for colors, which are all overdyes, but I'll make a few substitutions because there's a couple colors where the number of stitches that are used are so small that I think I'm just going to switch it for DMC so that I don't have to spend the extra money on the overdyed. And there were also a couple colors I'm going to change because my fabric is a lot darker than the one in the image. Particularly this border across the top is almost the same shades as my fabric. So I picked a different color, and off the top of my head I remember it. It's King Mackerel by I think Weeks. Honestly, it's crazy the things that stick in my head, right? There you have it. And it's sort of a lighter blue, so that's what I'll do across the top. And the only other change I might make is at the bottom here where there's like a checkerboard. I might repeat this wavy motif from the top. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see. So yeah, that's how far I am on it. My mom hasn't started it yet. She's so busy right now, it being her last year of teaching, and she also decided last minute to say yes to having a student teacher. So she's just too busy. So after she retires at the end of the school year, she'll start hers too. And I definitely won't be done with mine by then. Not at the rate at which I am starting projects, especially. I will probably have 150 unfinished projects by the time she starts hers. So yeah. So yeah, that's Yellow Submarine. Okay, next project. So, okay, we're into the market pre-orders. I might have mentioned at the beginning, I picked 3 charts. I had to be a little bit careful. I have a spending limit I set for myself just because I don't want to ever go overboard, especially with having a little business being my income. So yes, I picked 3. And the first one that I picked is Spring Quail by the Blue Flower. When this one came out, honestly, I was just like, I absolutely love this. I think quails are the cutest anyway. I think this dogwood flower is beautiful. I love the colors. I love the fabric color. I love everything about it. And I also really, really like the little pincushion here. So I think I'm going to stitch both of these pieces. Probably not this one because it's kind of a weird shape and I'm not sure what I do with it. And again, I've mentioned before, I'm not huge on words in my cross stitching, so I'll probably do these 2. And I actually tried to order a couple of very small pieces of fabric for my market pre-orders, and medium success. Blue Flower did not release the stitch count on this design ahead of market, so I had to kind of look at it and guess, and I guessed wrong. So the piece of fabric I bought is just a little too small. I technically could do it, but I think I would have like 3/4 of an inch margin on the sides, and I don't think I want to cut it that close. So I'm gonna have to wait until I'm ready to spend more money and get a replacement piece of fabric. But I can use the piece of fabric that I bought to make the pincushion, so I might start that, and I will show you the fabric I got. This is a 40 count Newcastle linen by Picture This Plus, and the color is Dwarf. I just think it's a pretty blue. I think it's a little bit, maybe a little darker than what she's got going on, and the one she has looks like it has some green in it, so a little different, but I think it's got the right feel. I think it'll work. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that one, but that one, as I said, we'll have to wait. I might start the pincushion though, we'll see. All right, next market pre-order is the Garden Hare by Tiny Modernist. I just love this one. It's so charming. And the thing that made me finally say, okay, yeah, I'll definitely do that one, is I was showing my husband the charts I was thinking about getting from market, and he said, I like that one the best. So I was like, okay, I'll get that one, because if he likes it too, it means he'll have no problem with me hanging it on the wall somewhere. So that'll be great. And I have not bought any fabric or anything for this one. It'll probably be one, maybe a summer project. I don't know. I might try to hand dye some fabric for this. I was kind of thinking of doing like a dark purpley blue. So it has a moon and stars. I feel like in the scene it's nighttime, so I want to put it on kind of a night sky kind of a color fabric. But I don't know. I got plenty of time to think about that. I have enough other projects. Okay, so the third and final of my market pre-orders is, I just can't even tell you how much I love this design. It is Millie Melaneter by Ingleside Imaginarium. So Ingleside Imaginarium is turning out to be one of my favorite designers. I love her whimsical, adorable, awesome charts. And they're really fun to stitch, really easy to follow. I can't get enough of them. But this possum, people, I mean, it's so cute. Like, I saw this and I was like, I have to have this. And actually, it was not on my LNS website as a pre-orderable chart, and I had to have it. So I emailed and was like, can you please get this? And she's like, yeah, sure. So she did. She was able to get it, and I'm so excited. And I came home from the LNS with this in hand, and a couple hours later, I was already starting. Like, that's how excited I was about this. So, and this is the one I put all the work into. So here's Millie. So yeah, I have done a lot on Millie here. And I'm sorry, if there's cat hair all over all of my projects, that's just my life. It's fine. This is the way I like it, actually. So yeah, Millie Melaneter. I went crazy. I did a lot of stitching. I just couldn't stop. I cannot wait to have her done and hanging on my wall. And I think I'm gonna have to purchase, I can't remember the other one. Is is it Peter Pumpkin Eater maybe? I can't remember. I'll put a picture in here. I might have to get this chart too and stitch this one up. And she was mentioning that this chart was so popular that she might think about adding the other seasons with the possum, and I'm here for that. So yeah, I'm using all the called for colors on this one. I think I took the tag off the fabric, but I remember the color name is Chime. It's a 36 count, and I want to say it's Picture This Plus. If not, I'll put something in here correcting myself, and as always, all the details will also be in the description box below the video, but the color is definitely called Chime, and it's this really pretty mottled yellow, as you can see. And I'm loving working on this piece of fabric. I've got a couple of 36 count linens going on at the same time right now, and some of them are kind of going kind of slow, but this one is so easy to work on, and I don't know whether that's just being such a light color or what, but no problems, I'm flying through it. So I'm very excited. This might be kind of a focus project for me just because I'm enjoying it so much. All right, so that was all my market pre-orders. I have one more chart that I picked up at the LNS the day that I got the yellow submarine, and that is another blue flower. I mean, I have my favorites. My favorite designers, I think, are probably Ingleside Imaginarium, the blue flower, and I really love Kathy Barrick. I have not worked any of her designs yet, but I love them, and a bunch of them are on my wish list and future plans, so yeah. But anyway, I like this blue flower Seasons of the Heart series, and I picked up the spring one. So with this one, I told myself I'm gonna wait and start this on the first day of spring. So that will be this week coming. And for this one, I know she stitched hers on blue, but I picked a green, and I'm not sure that was the smartest thing because there's a lot of green in this, and I'm gonna have to lay the colors on top of the fabric and possibly switch floss or switch fabric. But at any rate, I picked up this 36 count linen, and the color is Edinburgh. Nope, it's Edinburgh Linen. The color is Highland, and it's by, hold on, checking my tag, by Picture This Plus. And I think this color is so pretty. I hope it shows up on screen. It's sort of like a green and yellow, maybe a hint of blue in there too. It's just a really, really beautiful piece of fabric. I'm really, really excited to stitch on it. So that will be one of my spring starts. And I have two other projects that I'm thinking of. I told you, I've got spring on the brain. I'm just gonna start everything, okay? I wonder if I actually mentioned in one of my, my first or second episode that I was probably a pretty monogamous stitcher and I couldn't imagine myself stitching a lot of projects at once. I mean, I think it's safe to say that is no longer true. But anyway, so two more projects that I'm thinking of starting for spring, and one of them, I mentioned that I had purchased this chart a billion years ago, Pretty Little Tokyo by Satsuma Street. This one is giving me spring vibes because of the cherry blossoms, and I thought it would be good to have another project on Aida, because I'll work this one on Aida. It would be good to have another Aida project going because I've had a couple of times where I've been going to someone's house where I know I'm going to be doing kind of a lot of sitting and chatting, and it's fun for me to have something to do with my hands in those scenarios, or where I'm in the car for a long stretch of time. I really can't stitch on the linen in those scenarios because I've got to be wearing my reading glasses and really, really looking, you know. But on Aida, I can. So I'd like to have a couple of Aida projects going so that I can grab those and go in the car. And I do have Winter Landscape that I've showed you before on Aida, but you know I'm not going to work winter projects in the spring. I mean, so yeah, that one I'm going to start. And I have a whole bunch of Aida, so I'm sure I have something I can do that. It will just be plain white Aida, probably 18 count, because that's my favorite count to work at. Okay, and then the last project I'm going to start for spring. Oh, this is my other favorite designer too, is Cottage Garden Samplings. Okay, almost everything Cottage Garden Samplings puts out, I would stitch. I don't know how I didn't mention that with my favorite designers before, but this particular one is called Bluebird of Happiness. And this was part of a series, like she did a year-long series. This is the Songbirds Garden series, and it's number 5. And when I saw this, I almost teared up, which sounds so stupid, but I'll explain why. As you may know if you've watched for a while, my granny passed in May of last year. I was very, very close with her. She's like, I have like a real mother-daughter bond with her. She's just so important to me. And I had wanted at the time to come up with something that I could stitch that would kind of be a tribute piece for her. and I had decided I would stitch her house, and I'm still gonna do that, and I'll talk about that actually in a minute because I'm making progress towards that goal, but we'll talk about it. But when I saw this chart right here, the house that my granny lived in when I was a really little girl, and the house my mom grew up in, was a little pink house in Boston. Got a pink house here. And one of my favorite like young childhood memories from that house is that some bluebirds made a nest on the back porch of the pink house. And my grandmother loved telling the story about how every time I'd go up there, I'd be so excited to go see like what was going on in the nest, had the birds hatched, and then how big were the birds, and then finally the birds flew away. So it's kind of good memories. It was good memories for my granny. She was always telling the stories. And also my grandmother was just amazing at gardening, and her garden was always just beautiful flowers, a lot of times pink. So this whole thing, honestly, feels like somebody was like, oh, I'll just make a design about Jenny's grandmother. It really feels like that. It's crazy. And happiness, I mean, being at her house was my happy place. So in a way, this is a little bit tribute-y, but not on purpose. It's just total serendipity. So I haven't started this one yet, but I did acquire all the supplies. I'm gonna work it in the recommended fabric, which is I think it's 36 count. I don't think I wrote this down, but it's 36 count. The color is Sanguine, and it's from Weeks Dye Works. And it is, the prescribed flosses are all by Weeks, and I have a lot of them here. I've been slowly collecting them. I actually have had this chart for like months now, and I've been slowly collecting the flosses here and there. And I have most of them, but there are a couple I'll just sub with DMC. I think this is going to be, as a general rule, in order to keep things on budget, I will do overdyed for the really important stuff. Like in this chart, I feel like the birds, the flowers, there are things in here that if I don't use the overdyeds, it's just not going to look as cool, especially with these colors like this one here, which is very gray to blue. But there are other things like inside the letter H here. I'm not going to buy the overdyed to fill just the letter H. I can definitely use a DMC for that. So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be my other spring project. So that brings us to the end of all my upcoming project-y plans. I do have one other project to show you and another to talk about, and they all have to do with charting my own designs, because I've mentioned several times over several videos that I really want to learn to chart my own designs, and as I mentioned earlier in this video, wanting to chart my granny's house. And I'm pleased to say I've finally done it. In fact, I charted a design and stitched it all up. And I'm actually really excited, but I'm also nervous to share because it's my own my own thing, and I'm not sure I'm 100% happy, but I'm going to show it anyway. Let me get the backing over here. So without further ado, so I'm really happy I charted this myself, stitched it all up. I still need to put in some back stitching. If you're looking at it thinking, that's so familiar, I can't really place it, do you by chance watch an animated show called Bob's Burgers? If you do, next time you're watching, on the Burger of the Day board, look to the right of it, because this is the piece of art that's hanging on the wall there. And I charted it using Wind Stitch, which I did finally purchase because I think this is something I'm going to do a lot of. And the free version lets you do the chart, but then you can't print it or save it to a PDF or anything, and I really wanted to be able to use it, so I did purchase that. And I'm really pleased with this. I think it's cute. I like doing miniature things, and I thought for my first chart I would keep it small like this, because then if it went south I wouldn't feel like I had used up a ton of supplies and time. But it did take a while to fill that background. In my next life I would just use blue fabric for this. So yeah, I was really happy with how this turned out. I thought it was a great test project, and after this I was like, I'm ready to do Granny's house. And so I have got started charting that, and it's been so much fun. I've charted kind of like the basic outline of the house and where all the windows are, and then I worked on, there's like a part of the house that had brick, and it was like multicolored bricks, so I've got all that filled in and it looks really good. I'm so excited. So I'm just gonna keep plugging away at that, and then when it's done, that will be yet another start. Okay, so that's it for stitching. The only other stitchy related thing that I have is my vinyl fronted project bags that I've made and put in my Etsy shop. They're actually on sale right now, so if you, like me, are in your spring cleaning and organizing mode and you're thinking I could use some zip front project bags, then I'll put the link to my shop below. I have a whole bunch of them in there, and yeah, so that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you are just as excited about spring as I am, and I will be back in probably 2 or 3 weeks with hopefully more than just tiny progress. All right, until that next time, happy stitching, friends. Bye.